Ladies and gentlemen, FBE Capital made a video and it's about why Democrats need to spend 20 million to learn to speak to men.
Do we need men?
Hello, Democrats.
Yep.
Hey, I am speaking.
I need my man 3 to 4 times a week.
What the fuck is this? That's daytime TV.
Yep.
Do you guys really think men can get up here and say my wife is just a whole lot every now and then?
Nope.
Survey shows 23% of 12th grade boys identify as conservative.
Men, and especially young men, were moving very strongly into the Republican camp.
But that seems obvious, Jen. So why are they not doing it?
No, a lot of the messaging strategies that were developed to men were developed to men by white women. And I think that that is a problem.
So I think we have a problem with young men right now, and that they don't respect women, as you're seeing with Vinny. They don't respect facts. They don't read newspapers. They don't understand polls. They don't understand misogyny. They don't understand people of color. And they don't understand that immigration bill.
How can you speak to a man like that and be like, he's going to listen to you?
Never!
My brain is telling me it's because you think there is no difference between men and women. But you're the standard of normal. And the only way I can be normal, you need to socialize me into normal.
Are useless. Broadly speaking, I feel like men have proven largely useless.
What kind of example are you guys setting for your son?
The Democratic Party has kind of a masculinity
Only
problem.
woman.
It's the fault of the Democratic Party in not knowing how to communicate effectively.
The non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced.
What are these retards talking about? Like,
What the left is doing is attacking America. They're saying that America is systemically oppressive and men are systemically responsible.
Our country should be more fearful of white men.
I hate all white people. They're all rapists. So die, white devil.
You know, MAGA equals football and beer. The left equals HR and tofu.
Pete Hegseth was in Germany this week doing squats to like 220 on the bar outside for no reason. I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelt Boys. Aiden Ross. Theo Vaughn.
So you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie, you know.
Also with the boys, and last but not least,
Joe Rogan.
the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
Does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied? Just outright lied.
Ivermectin on the list, a
Yeah.
drug used for livestock
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
while he was living here.
I don't really
But
care, Margaret.
Yeah, that is everything that I heard when he said that. I would say this. I've heard a lot of ladies tell me that they needed to change their character for somebody else, and they consider that abuse. And I would also like to ask them, why is it not abuse if a man has to change their character because you're the normal and you can just shame them into that normal? Isn't that also abuse?
No.
Because if you can't even understand them and somebody needs to pay you to learn how they think, would you still change that normal to find the middle ground?
After decades of hating on men and supporting trends like all men are trash and we don't need men, somehow the Democrats lost the young male vote.
Yep.
Crazy, right? And so by alienating young men, Democrats got to see their worst nightmare come to life, which is Big T back in the White House.
How did we get here? How did we get here?
You did everything possible to make it get there. But now they realize if I don't vote, I'm actually voting for you indirectly.
Too much winning.
I can't believe this country did this again.
And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
So this forced the DNC to now go out and spend $20 million
Makes
to
no
figure out
sense.
how to talk to men, since they finally figured out they do need men.
To try and get back their male voters, they want to, quote, study the syntax to understand them.
I think it's a waste of money. Maybe
What?
these guys should spend their money.
Well, I finally agree with Joe Behar because it is a waste of money because they're wasting it for the wrong reason. They would never spend this much money to really understand men. It's more on how to convince men.
On teaching men to not be such sexists.
See?
Jeez, I wonder where they went wrong.
Wow. Dilo, remember to subscribe.
So apparently doing back-to-back appearances on Karen's Gone Wild TV did not help them. Now obviously $20 million is a lot of money, however personally I still feel like they could do a lot better, am I right? I mean, if these DNC Karens want to secure the male vote, they're going to need to bring a lot more to the table since it's 2025 and men are not settling. Right guys? Drizzle drizzle.
I go on a date with a female and the bill comes and she don't pick up the bill. And she said, "Oh, you're not gonna pay for it?" I said, "What?" Drizzle drizzle, I'm not gonna pay for anything.
If you can't afford the date, just say so, baby. I know, I'm expensive. I am a fine wine. See these grays? Fine wines cost money. I'm gonna show up on that date in a $90,000 car, and no, I'm not gonna pick you up, because my time costs money. Boy math.
Classic.
If you can even see the joke that men just want to value themselves, maybe the way you value yourself, and that is annoying, and it pisses you off, maybe that's why you need to spend $20 million to understand men.
But in all seriousness, the Democrats have really tried everything possible to make it clear that they do not give a single about men. Check this out. This is the official list of people that the Democrats focused on and were going to fight for during the 2024 election. Basically singling out every possible group you could think of except for one, men.
Consider that at the Democratic Party website, there's a list under the heading Who We Serve, LGBTQ plus community, and women, but not men.
Women, seniors, rural Americans. One group that's not mentioned is men.
This is a this is your news channel that's calling you out. So you knew about the statistic, but you didn't do it. Because I know if you did something about it, somebody might have felt offended you put men over there. Oh no, we're going to lose some vote.
Yes. Of course it is.
More specifically, straight white men. Because if you are a straight guy who doesn't want to debase himself for the feminist propaganda, then they absolutely hate you.
In case you forgot that men are awful. And the coddling is for the white boys. That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears.
This election is going to be determined by women.
I don't want to laugh, but what you just said is exactly the reason why you lost. You felt so overconfident.
How about no?
Not connect with young men, and spending $20 million to figure out how to won't do a damn thing when you genuinely do not care about men's issues, interests, or goals.
Across the board, didn't matter what race they are, males turned towards Donald Trump. Why? Because in so many ways, the party basically dismissed him, and not until the very end decided, oh, I better reach out and see if these guys are worth talking to.
Democrats look at men as just a tool for them to get back into power, even taking it one step further by enacting laws and policies that actively discriminate against men, and again, specifically against straight white men.
And they can say, I have the right to vote, but you can't force me to go to a war, but I can force you to go to a war, to go to a country that I'm never going to visit. That's like you're telling somebody, you weren't my first choice when I get married, but you better be happy. Bigot.
How about no?
I'm speaking metaphorically. It's so disrespectful. And if so many other cultures, by the standard of men, think alike, maybe you're doing something wrong.
Certainly, there have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male person.
Just kind of unspoken.
I covered this video.
There are times when it's spoken. We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now. Who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And there was a creative executive who was like, we're not, that's not what's wrong.
They won't hire my son because my son looks too white. I guess my son can say the N-word too. Miss me with that. It's so performative and it doesn't feel honest.
Insane, especially coming from the people that scream they want equality and want to put an end to racism. But in reality, they hope racism never dies since they need it to feed their bullshit propaganda. But luckily, the recent Supreme Court decision has just put a massive stake through the heart of this nonsense by giving a unanimous decision that reverse racism is indeed racism.
This involved alleged reverse discrimination by a straight woman alleging being passed over for a job because she was not gay. They were tossed out by a federal appeals court that said she had to prove something higher because she was a white straight woman.
Which just shows you how far this extreme left propaganda has corrupted society. And this is why it's so important that men start to get political and take voting a lot more seriously.
Yeah, I said it. Men realize, hey, if I didn't vote, I'm voting for them. There comes a point you just don't want to care. But the moment you don't want to care and they try to find you because they need your vote, ooh.
Because even when Democratic politicians do talk about men and try to fake concern about men's issues, if you listen carefully, it is still just about helping women.
Yep.
Vice President Harris had a few words for the men at that rally. Take a quick listen.
Men across America do not want to see their daughters.
Are you sure?
And wives, and sisters, and mothers put at risk because their rights have been taken. I see the men here.
If you want a party to win, I believe these days all they have to do is support abortion. And usually you would get most of the women votes. And I'm not saying that abortion isn't important for certain people. But to say abortion is the reason we're going to save everybody, but all the things below is something else other than men, there comes a point people are like, you're just using abortion to justify a bunch of things that doesn't even include me. And I think some men started to see that. And if I can see that with one eye, they can see it with two.
Abortion, abortion, abortion. Why the hell would young men give a single f*** about abortion if they can't even get laid?
Are they tired of sex?
It's that attitudes toward sex have shifted.
So no, the average guy is not worried about getting all of these women that he's not f***ing pregnant. But more importantly, if you watch more of this interview, she literally spends her entire time talking about how men can help women and why it's good for women that men vote for a woman.
Yeah.
Even though this was all supposed to be about understanding men and the problems that men face.
Think of somebody like Tim Walz. He's successfully threaded the needle of turning the idea of masculinity on its head by showing a deep empathy for women's issues.
We are at a crossroads. We do need a positive new vision of what men can be and what men can, and men need to be able to see that.
So they need to change
I think
again.
that men can have a very central, very important role in, again, protecting women.
So you see, even when the left talks about helping men, they really mean helping men to help women. They simply do not care about actually helping men and enacting policies that benefit men.
Money in politics is the hands of oligarchy.
This is another really stupid word, oligarch. What the f*** knows what an oligarch is?
Intersectionality of feminism. People who might not know what intersectionality really means.
Don't use words like intersectionality. The LGBTQ community. I wouldn't even use the LBGQT plus or whatever it is. LGBTQ Americans. Just call people gay, a lesbian, or trans. Just use the word that is most...
This is a very important person for the Democratic Party about the strategies and how to reach people. And when you reach people, some people want it direct. Don't try to outsmart me to prove to me, hey, I'm smarter than you, so you better vote for me, because if you don't, maybe you're stupid or not educated.
It's commonly used among people.
Now a fair bit of criticism would be, are the Republicans that much better? No, of course not. Since this right here is an absolutely useless Republican. He should have been immediately replaced over 2,000 years ago when he first took office. And this warmongering lunatic is another worthless Republican who cares more about foreign wars and foreign interests than he cares about American people. So there are plenty of problems on the Republican side as well. However, if you have to choose between a party that makes mistakes and...
I like the guy on the left. Oh man, he is all about calling people out in other countries, and at least he is so consistent.
Will argue with you at the table versus a party that literally does not want you at that table.
So I think we have a problem with young men right now.
Our country should be more fearful of white men.
Then be honest, who are you choosing? Because say what you will about David Hogg and how he got drop-kicked from the DNC vice chair position, but he was absolutely right about one thing.
While there are some effective people in our party, there certainly are some who are failing to meet the moment. And no, it's time for them not to seek re-election. Whether that's because they're, too old, for example, or if that's because they just aren't able to meet it. Because frankly, unfortunately, sucking is something that is not limited to age.
Yes, on this one issue, I fully agree with...
That was supposed to be the male representation of masculinity of the party. And I told everybody, he's not gonna last long. There were so many other black options and they still choose a white person.
Supreme leader of soy hair, since useless politicians should be replaced on both sides. because for way too long we've seen literal corpses being...
Why the heck do I need to respect a person going back like that? I'm not saying in a bad way, but he had a brain freeze, a medical brain freeze, and such a person can make big important decisions of a government that I'm funding? I should be worried.
Push down the aisle of Congress to go vote for their billion-dollar corporate donors and do nothing for the American citizen. However, David got kicked from his position even though he was democratically elected simply because he was a man.
DNC boots David Hogg and another vice chair from their roles. Instead of holding two separate votes, one for a male vice chair and one for a female vice chair, as required by the DNC ran a single combined election for both positions.
Well, him and the other guy could have rock, paper, scissors for who had to be the woman.
Yeah.
Which shows you just how insane the Democrats have gotten.
Yep.
However, the problems of the DNC run much deeper than having ridiculous voting procedures, since there seems to exist a crazy level of self-hatred amongst white female Democrats that just cannot be explained.
The fact that I am dripping with white privilege. White people, we have always been the problem. Since the beginning of this country, colonizers, oppressors, you choose to continue to live that way.
The Canada, United States line. White man, how dare you? How dare you? That was kind of racist. I'm a privileged white man too. But you know what I'm doing? You just called me a privileged white man. You cannot be racist to white people.
This level of...
What? I mean, think about it. It means that if you look white, nobody can be racist to you. If somebody has that logic in their brain, do you think we're going to get a fair treatment?
This level of self-hatred is just disgusting. So why would any white guy seeing this want to join that side? A side that teaches you nothing but to hate yourself for being white and force you to constantly apologize for your supposed male privilege, even though most men are simply working a 9-to-5 trying to pay their bills. These women on the left seem to be so blind to the very basic concept that no one's going to like being talked to like this. As a matter of fact, when the lunatics of The View get a taste of their own medicine, they absolutely hate it.
So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms, the majority of his community?
White women like being called uneducated white women. I think the economy matters, national security matters. But when you put people in these boxes, I think that's a takeaway from this, right?
Yeah.
See, now all of a sudden she cares about being grouped and smeared.
Broadly speaking, I feel like men have proven largely useless.
What an absolute moron. And so yes, I understand that some people are saying, but Trump or the Republican Party is not giving me everything I want, and of course, that is definitely true. But wake the f*** up, guys. You're never going to find a politician or a political party that gives you 100% of what you want. You'll be lucky to find anyone that gives you 70 or 80%. Yeah. But what's even more important is that even if the Democrats would align with 50 or 60% of your political views, which I highly doubt if you're a straight guy, then it's only a matter of time before they will turn on you like they did with David Hogg, Mayor Adams, Joe Rogan, Bernie Sanders, Tim Pool, Andrew Schultz, RFK Jr., John Fetterman, Dave Chappelle, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. Do I need to go on? Or do you start to see a pattern here? All of these guys used to be on the left of center, and some still are. But more importantly, most were Bernie Sanders supporters, and all of them are now massively hated by the Democratic Party.
I'm gonna keep it right here and let's go see the most liked comment. Amen to that. I never understood why men voted Democrat. Well, I can understand that. They blown $2 billion on her campaign, but all men were worth $20 million to them. So 1%, is that what you were? Oh, that is a good point. And personally, I don't think you need to give men anything. I just think you need to give more people the same consequence that men have, so it's fair. Because if only the skin color decides if it's fair, there's no way you can justify it that it's for a good reason.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde, kush hash, purple skunk, criollo, colombici, jam jam, durloqueta, verdeta, welcome.